talked at length, and I've written at length in Plunder and Deceit about this phony environmental movement. It's not about the environment. It is about degrowth. It's about deindustrialization. These are their words. This D-E dash, like deplaning when you're on a, hey, let's deplane. Oh, you mean get off the plane? No, the plane. But anyway, here's the thing. The left likes to live in luxury. The left likes material things. Oh, they do. But they don't think anybody else should have them. So that way they satisfy their phony guilt, or they advance their radical egalitarian agenda. And this radical egalitarian agenda is a throwback to Marx. But what they've done here is they have hijacked this so-called environmental movement, and they hide behind polar bears and the air and the water, when in fact what they're trying to do is destroy capitalism. In fact, what they're trying to do, believe it or not, is cause economic contraction. They believe industrialized societies like ours, particularly ours, too big, that we the people live in too much luxury. Forget about the liberals, just the rest of us. We have too many things, and we need to get back to nature. Well, I don't want to get back to nature. Half the time, I don't even like nature. But that's beside the point, too. So here's the thing. This is an ideological, radical movement. An ideological, radical movement. You know, I've written about in Liberty and Tyranny this DDT and how that became all of a sudden a chemical that was banned throughout the world. DDT, ladies and gentlemen, was used during World War II. Our soldiers used to lather themselves up when they were fighting in Burma and other jungle areas to protect themselves from mosquitoes. They didn't want to get malaria, among other things. And it worked. We used to drop DDT from our airplanes on the recess grounds. We dropped them over our major cities. Big story about when we did it many, many decades ago in places like Boston, Massachusetts, during the day. We used to use it on our crops and so forth. Then Rachel Carson came along. She was a radical ideologue. She wrote a book about it, and the book was filled with fiction. There was a hearing held many, many years ago at the Environmental Protection Agency, and I write about this. An administrative law judge, he had no axe to grind. The Environmental Protection Agency came about in 1970, and this is one of the first big cases it dealt with, DDT. And so this environmental administrative law judge heard all the evidence that was presented, all the evidence presented by environmental groups of every stripe and sort, all the evidence presented by the manufacturers of DDT, and any other independent sources. And he held hearings, and the hearings were transcribed. And you know what he concluded? Well, you shouldn't drink DDT, you shouldn't pour it into your eyeballs or something like that, you shouldn't replace it with spaghetti sauce, but what he said was, when used properly, DDT is not harmful. You know, there were all these stories about birds' eggs, and the eggs would be cracking, or the eggs were soft, and it would affect the eagles and so forth. He said that's not correct. And that administrative law judge was right. But his decision was overturned by the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, William Ruckelshaus, who served under Richard Nixon. That name may be familiar to you. At one point, he was involved in the Watergate matter, and was one of those involved in going after Nixon during the process of the so-called Sunday Night Massacre. But again, that's not relevant to this. So DDT was banned. And because it was banned here in the United States, it was banned all over the world. And you know the consequence of that? Millions of little babies in Southeast Asia and Africa died. It's not just Mark Levin who believes this. Many liberals have written about this. New York Times reporters have now written about this. Again, you can check it out in Liberty and Tyranny. I go point by point by point, and the sources are provided. So there's a perfect example of the left causing massive destruction. I'll give you one more. Look at our cafe standards. Our cafe standards, I'm not talking about lattes and Starbucks. Our cafe standards on our automobiles, our vehicles. Cars are supposed to get lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. That means less and less steel. That means that part of the car that protects you is now vulnerable, making you vulnerable. And there have been more and more studies demonstrating that those CAFE standards have cost tens of thousands of human lives on America's roads. I provide those studies, not done by me, by all sorts of organizations of various ideological bents, in Liberty and Tyranny as well. So here we have this environmental movement that's supposed to be for people, that wants people to be safe, that wants the air to be clean, advancing an agenda that has killed people and maimed people. And I could go into other examples too, but not now. So why bring all this up now? Well, I want to give you context to a story that NBC News did. The title is, "Not Cool, Millions of Air Conditioning Units Would Worsen Emissions." Oh, what's this all about? There's no putting a chill on the worldwide air conditioning boom that's expected to heat up to historic levels over the next decade. I'm going, uh-oh. They're going after these third world countries that are not fully developed but are starting to develop, and they think shouldn't have air conditioning. Nations with emerging economies and spiking populations, including India, Indonesia, and Brazil, are seeing air conditioner sales grow 10 to 15% a year. That means the world's supply of AC units could nearly double from about 900 million in 2015 to 1.6 billion in 2030, according to a recent Berkeley National Laboratory study. So instead of simply trying to shut off the inexorable growth, scientists are working to find fresh energy-efficient technologies that could offset the effects AC units have on the climate. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, they don't really want these countries that aren't developed to develop, because they are a degrowth movement. They are a deindustrialization movement. They are a decapitalist movement. They are anti-humanity. They do not have compassion. They want poor people to remain poor. They want poor people not to have access to the benefits of capitalist innovation, like electricity, like light, like air conditioning, like heat in the winter. That's what they're all about. This is nonsense. CO2 they're talking about. The U.S. Energy Secretary, Ernest Moniz, will host the event, and a so-called advanced cooling challenge is on the agenda to discuss developing super-efficient, climate-friendly, cost-effective solutions. No, it's not. It's to put out more damning, smothering, anti-business, anti-jobs, anti-human regulations to further kill companies like Carrier. That's what they're talking about. That's what they're all about. That means cutting down on hydrofluorocarbons, typically found in supermarket refrigerators and air conditioners. HFCs are among the fastest-growing greenhouse gases, with global warming potentials thousands of times higher. Now, one more time. What is global warming? What is global cooling? What is climate change? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the sun is very, very powerful, and there's not a damn thing we as a human species can do to stop global warming, to stop global cooling, to stop climate change. You realize this? If we wanted to affect the climate, we couldn't affect the climate. It's bigger than we, the people. It's bigger than humanity. We have a massive planet here. If the planet chooses to blink, 100 million people can be killed. And there's not a damn thing any politician can do, any law can do, or the EPA can do. What they're creating here is misery for human beings. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Now, let's say the Earth does get a little bit warmer. What happens then? Well, what happens then is more people can grow things. More people might be able to feed themselves. There's more vegetation. I thought we liked vegetation. I thought we liked trees. We're always attacking lumber companies. We're always saying, no, don't cut down the trees. You know, there'll be more trees. There'll be more bushes. There'll be more flowers. Hence, more bugs, more insects. Hence, more animals, more birds. I thought we were supposed to like these things. But here's the thing. The left is so damn crazy. They think they can control the globe, the planet, the sun, and the weather, and the climate. They want to control human beings. They don't think other human beings should have air conditioning. They think they can control the air beyond a certain point. Beyond a certain point, of course they can't. They think they control the rise of the oceans. They can't control the rise of the oceans. They can't even control themselves, let alone the rise of the oceans. So this is all nonsense, but I wanted to bring it to your attention that now we have our government and all these other left-wing governments with their bloated bureaucrats and their pot bellies sticking over their pants and out of their dresses, telling the undeveloped world they shouldn't really have air conditioning. And I guess they shouldn't have refrigerators, and they should continue to wash their clothes in dirty rivers, and they shouldn't have running water, no electricity, no gas, you know. Meanwhile, Barack Obama's preparing to go to Martha's Vineyard. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Sounds very materialistic to me.